wanted to add something. I don't think we want to hold them accountable. I think we need to drive them from power. I think they're a horror for all of humanity.
I'm Patrick from Refuse Fascism, here with my buddy Norm from Refuse Fascism as well.
All right, then. I know my buddy Norm.
We're old friends.
Yes, we are. And so with that being said, I know that we had a piece that we were going to play shortly, but I'm going to ask you, what is so important with the Refuse Fascism? Because the reason that you all are in is because in the rain, in the midst of everything yesterday, you all were out there with a strong message, and that message is...
The nightmare must end. The Trump-Pence regime must go. And we must do this not just for ourselves, but for all of humanity. You know, I was watching the news a couple days ago, and they had the slave auction in Libya of young men from Nigeria and other countries who were trying to get across the Mediterranean, who were to Europe. They had people who were supposed to transport them. They captured them, and they were selling them as slaves. I do not want to live in this kind of world where this goes on. And this is what Donald Trump and Mike Pence and the whole regime is all about, and it's up to us to put a stop to it.
The question becomes, and people will ask this, they'll put out two-word question, and that is, can we?
Yes, we can. We the people can stand up, get millions in the street, and make our voices heard. End this shit. Sorry for the language. My bad. But seriously, if we get enough people, we can go ahead and we can bring this regime down. All it is a matter of getting out there.
And my thing is, a lot of people would go out there and they would ask, regime, isn't that like too much of a term? Are you overstating everything? You would say what?
I'd say no. He's making changes that are really indicative of fascism. For those of you who maybe aren't too aware, he's gone ahead and tried to ban Muslims, tried to ban immigrants, repealed DACA, tried to go ahead and demonize minorities all over this great country of ours to push them out, to get rid of them. That just ain't right.
And so, when you look at it, again, people would say, okay, regime is fascism to, we will say, the meaning of a word. And for those who may not know, I know the definition of it, but for you, do you feel that fascism is just like a shock word that you're using, or is it actual in this case?
No, it's the truth. We have to be honest with people and not sugarcoat things. Fascism is a qualitative change in how the country is governed. What Trump and Pence, not just the two of them, that's why we say the regime, because we're talking about Jeff Sessions, Betsy DeVos, and the whole rest of them who are trying to take away basic democratic rights, the right to dissent, to stop the separation of church and state, the separation of power, the rule of law, and most importantly, bludgeoning the truth. The truth is what comes out of his mouth, not what we know through our own experience and through science. This is what fascism is, with one man or a group of people control everything that is going on. He has his finger in a nuclear trigger and he's itching to use it, and he's not going to allow anybody to stand in the way and stop it. That's fascism.
Now, I'm going to take the time to say that since we have millions of listeners and we have a far reach right now, I have to ask, how can people at least stand up to make some sort of change? Because it's even hard to make changes on a local level. And we're looking at you all asking, you've been very consistent though, but asking for people to at least rise up in a national, just throughout the nation, and to be able to take a national stand and an international stand. But right now, I'll keep it more localized to say, is this like too big of a goal, lofty of a goal, what?
I'd say no. Human beings can do anything they set their mind to, and if nothing else rise up, we can change anything about this country, about this regime. So please stand with us and make yourself heard.
And so I'm going to say it's important that I've always felt that you have to hear all sides to the story. And a lot of times we've read at, but we haven't been able to talk to you all directly. So it's good to have you in here. You had something you wish to add?
Yeah. Let's say you have a sick child and you know there's a cure for the whatever the child has, but it takes lots of money and you don't have it. Are you going to sit back and let your child die? No. You're going to go out, you're going to talk to everybody, you're going to struggle with people to contribute so you can get the money to do what's necessary to save, your child. And that's what you should do. And we love humanity, we love people, we care about people, we care about the planet. And what we're facing, not only imperiling one child, it's imperiling the future of every child on this planet. And the people who can solve this problem are everywhere. Everybody. You can't go out and not talk to people. I was just talking to your previous guest who was telling me how his parents were talking about all the things Trump and Pence are doing and how awful it is. These people, this is a sleeping giant, people who hate what he's doing but are sitting back, going on with their business as usual. People need to know that only people going to the streets, staying in the streets, in nonviolent mass protests, sustained protests, not one demonstration like yesterday or 2 weeks ago, but increasing numbers like what happened in South Korea last year. Or here's something else. I was listening to the news about Mugabe being forced out in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
And they're saying he's not leaving yet. He's trying to hold on. And they were saying, well, people will get in the streets, and that's what it'll take to force him out. And we're saying the same thing. We are not going to be able to hold him accountable as long as he has power. So the fact that he has his finger on the nuclear trigger, the fact that he can order the police or the National Guard at any moment create martial law and take away the limited rights that people already have, what he's already done to the environment, approving the Keystone Pipeline, where there is just this huge leak that's already happened just a few months later. This is intolerable what is going on. It's up to us to get in the streets and take responsibility to stop it. And don't be afraid of challenging people to get out of their comfort zone. Have people look at what he's actually doing. Do you want to live in the world that he has already created and what he is doing, even in greater numbers? Is this the world you want your children to grow up in? And if you don't, then you got to get serious on what it's going to take to stop it. And it's not going to be waiting to 2018 or 2020 for an election. Elections don't change things. What changes things is what people do on the ground, how we create new conditions for the politicians that will widen the gaps that already exist to get to the point where some of them on the left will feel compelled to remove Trump, Pence, and the rest of them from office, just like what has been going on right now in Zimbabwe.
Gotcha.
I would like to know both of you gentlemen's opinion on Dan Gilbert hosting the RNC right here in Cleveland from last year.
Oh, man.
It could have been anywhere else in the country. It was right here in Cleveland.
I think that gets into strategic voting a bit because Ohio's a swing state with a significant number of electoral votes. And by hosting the RNC here, he could go ahead and consolidate his base. And also there's the whole thing of, in the past 40 years, I believe, Ohio has had a record of setting, of where our votes go is usually the winner. And it's kind of superstition at this point.
I think it's a real outrage and an insult to the people, quite frankly, to hold it here. But I also wanted to add that a number of people in Refuse Fascism were there right when he was getting inaugurated, protesting, calling him out for a fascist, and holding a demonstration that was attacked by the Cleveland, police.
I bring that up, and this is a very deep issue that we don't have to get time to get into, but we have this whole issue with Kaepernick, right? And the NFL, and the kneeling and the protesting, right? Yeah. Then you have people that are usually the people that are against it are saying that they don't want politics in sports. It's the one escape that we have. We don't want our politics in sports. We don't want to talk about politics in the workplace. We don't want to talk about politics in church. You hear marriages have been broken up, relationships shattered, and different things like that. But Dan Gilbert, an owner of a sports team, hosted the RNC.
Yeah. There is politics in sports. What they want to keep out is the politics of the people, politics of Colin Kaepernick that stand with the people and bring out what the people's interests are. You know, it's been in the news that the military is paying the NFL to do things. They brought back having the Star-Spangled Banner and the Pledge of Allegiance, 20 or 30 years ago as a political move. So it isn't a question of politics. They want to keep the politics of oppression and ending oppression that Colin Kaepernick represents out.
Wait, and that question had come through from Brother Sam from Melanated Media News, where you can catch the rebroadcast of this show. We have a phone caller in. How you doing out there?
Al, Sam, and guest. I have a question about to the one that said that he felt like the RNC being here was I don't want to misuse his words. What did you say? What did you say about the RNC being here? That you thought it was a bad idea, basically?
I'm saying the Republican Party doesn't represent the people of Cleveland, and holding it here, I thought, was not a good thing because it doesn't represent who we are.
Okay. I paid attention to the events. I got a chance to be on the floor for one day on the convention. I got a feel for what was going on around there, and they do represent some degree the population of Cleveland, as does the Democratic Party and the other numerous parties as well. And
in what way, Todd?
Huh?
In what way does the Republican Party represent Clevelanders?
Fiscal conservatism with people that demonstrate the Republican values of the Republican Party correctly is very much a part of what helped build Cleveland to be a reasonably good city at this point, and it also helped protect it. Now, on the same note, social consciousness through government-funded programs for the well-being of the public, which is was a strong function of the Democratic Party.
Todd,
that helps a lot of folks too.
Todd, when you say Cleveland is a reasonably good city, what cities are you comparing Cleveland to?
The other 49 that represent the major cities of the United States.
Okay, and can you name me? I mean, we have an F in the school report card. We have a high unemployment rate. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what are you comparing.
Do you know what Cleveland's unemployment rate is?
Why don't you tell me?
Cleveland's unemployment rate is under 7%. That's high by American standards, but it's under 7%.
What's the national average?
4.6, I think.
Okay, so again...
Well, hear me out. But although that's higher than the national average, when you take in consideration how many people are eligible to work in this city, or any city, but particularly this city, and then you take in consideration that the unemployment rate is around 7%, the unemployment rate, that's a lot of folks working.
Todd, are you employed?
I absolutely am.
Okay, so how do you think a person that is unemployed is going to feel about this conversation?
Well, if they know the numbers, they'll know that they're in the vast minority of people that aren't working. But
okay. Can I add something?
I'm going to let him add something.
The
guest add something because we have about only a couple minutes left. But I appreciate the call, Todd.
The unemployment rate is people who are actively looking for work who can't get work. It doesn't include the many, many people who have given up trying to get work because they don't see work that they can get hired for.
That's very important. Did you hear that, Todd?
All right, and I'm sure he did, because now we basically went to the fast talk.
We love you, Todd.
Hey, I appreciate that. Before we leave out again, contact information, please.
Okay, Refuse Fascism Cleveland. We can be reached at Ohio@refusefascism.org or at 216-225